Good. Okay. Put the mic back in for it's acquiring the thing. Can you start reading? So, and just
just read and it'll do something? Or
put the mic back in.
This mic? Or?
The mic.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Okay, start out reading.
Say something. Is it ready? Just go ahead and start reading this part. Welcome to the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is Monday, April 16th, 2018, and your radio host today will be Wanda, reading the news from the Sunday Fayetteville Oberver. I will start for her with the article, Spokesman, Robert Bush and Failing Health by Michael Rasick. Excuse me. Actually, former U2 stage to be at the Aquarium by Julian Patine, the Associated Press, Salt Lake City. It toured the world for 2 years with rock behemoths U2, towering above the band through 30 countries and before a combined audience of 7.2 million people. But soon, the dome-shaped metal stage structure known as the Claw, which stands as tall as Niagara Falls, will have a new home outside a Utah aquarium, where the sounds of blaring guitars and drums will be replaced by screeches and giggles from children eager to see sharks and stingrays. Instead of rock icons, the Claw will loom over interactive science exhibits at the Loveland Living Planet Aquarium in suburban Salt Lake City, which opened in 2014 and hosts 625 different species of animals. The futuristic-looking four-legged structure is 165 feet or 50 meters tall and weighs 190 tons or 172 metric tons. It will be the centerpiece of a planned expansion dubbed the Science Learning Campus.
I am Wanda Lee, coming to the mic to take up where Robert left off on the same article. In its new life, it can still function as a stage, but that's not really what it's there for, said Brent Anderson, the Draper Aquarium's founder and CEO. It's to help get people into that state of mind and that sense of curiosity and wonder, and help us shine a light on our mission on educating people about the Earth's diverse ecosystems. Anderson saw the structure twice during U2's worldwide 2009-2011 360 tour, once in Barcelona, Spain, and once in Salt Lake City. When I first saw it, I literally stopped and I had to take it all in, he said. The structure sat unused for years in an East Coast storage yard after the tour ended, but Anderson envisioned it fitting perfectly into the aquarium's design for the plaza at the center of its expanded campus. It's going to be a place where people will want to come and see it, just the spectacle of it if nothing else, even if they don't care about U2, said Tasula Kokoris, a senior writer at U2 fan site atu2.com, who saw the structure 7 times during the band's tour. For children, it will be a memorable thing. In the shadow of the Claw, the aquarium is planning interactive features that can be climbed on or played with. There will also be outdoor venues that can host movies or special events. A separate building is planned that will have exhibits, classrooms, and 5-story Asian cloud forest habitat and endangered species conservation center. It's all part of a $25 million expansion that Anderson hopes will increase aquarium attendance by as many as 40,000 people per year. Anderson wouldn't disclose the claw's price, but said it accounts for a small fraction of the overall total. Construction for the new Science Learning Campus is expected to begin this fall, with the goal of opening the outdoor plaza by next summer. The accompanying building is expected to open to visitors in 2021. Need to know. Fayetteville Beautiful. The Fayetteville Beautiful annual citywide cleanup is Saturday. Residents who want to participate should meet at Cross Creek Park on Green Street from 8:30 to 9 a.m. Volunteers may sign up at fayettevillebeautiful.com. Click on the citywide cleanup map and select the area they want to clean up. Pasta Workshop. The Cumberland County Cooperative Extension Better Living Series Use Your Noodle Basic Pasta Workshop is April the 24th, noon to 1:30 p.m. at the Agricultural Center, 301 East Mountain Drive. Participants will learn to make their own pasta, then prepare a batch for a home-cooked meal. A $10 registration fee is due by Friday. Seats are limited. Contact Susan Johnson at 321-6405 or email Susan_Johnson at ncsu.edu. Call for art. The Fayetteville Art Guild is asking artists of all mediums to submit up to 3 items for an upcoming art show. Items will be on display April 27th to May 22nd, Alter Egos Gallery, 108 Gillespie Street. The cost to submit work is $25 for non-guild members and $15 for members of the Fayetteville Art Guild. Artwork can be submitted Friday through April 22nd. The items will be part of Beauty Remains, a joint project between the Guild and the Fayetteville Dogwood Festival. The gallery will celebrate the finale of the Dogwood Festival with an open mic night on April the 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. Spoken word artists should call for more information. The show is free and open to the public. Artists' work will be available for purchase. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar@fayobserver.com or fax details to 486-3545. For questions, call 486-3500. Public safety. The following are arrests in Cumberland County. Brandon Scott Stellan, 35 of the 900 block of Sarah Lane, was charged Saturday with common law robbery. Bail was set at $10,000. Justin Dion Blackman, 30 of the 200 block of Secretariat Court in Rayford, was charged Friday with sale and delivery of cocaine, possession of cocaine with intent to distribute, possession of a stolen firearm, possession of a firearm by a felon, and fleeing and eluding arrest. Bail was set at $31,000. Kareem Lamas McCoy, 23 of the 1000 block of Stratham Avenue, was charged Friday with obtaining property by false pretense. Bail was set at $10,000. Joshua Trayvon Townsend, 19 of the 300 block of Milburn Drive, was charged Friday with safe cracking and larceny by an employee. Bail was set at $25,000. E.E. Smith volunteer has spirit of service. 10 years ago, a friend asked Julian Brown to come to E.E. Smith's school for about an hour to help to put together a computer database. That hour turned into 10 years, said Brown, a full-time volunteer at the school. Brown, an amputee and legally blind, handles community outreach efforts for E.E. Smith, working from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. every weekday. I've been asked to do some of everything but teach, he said with a chuckle. Brown calls himself a clearinghouse for the school. I'm a link between the school and the community, he said. I try to identify those resources that can make a difference in the broad sense. Brown communicates with various organizations, trying to determine how they can help the school and how the school can help them. He said he wants to create win-win situations. Brown said he talks with officials at nearby Fayetteville State University. Chancellor James Anderson has spoken at E.E. Smith several times, Brown said. Brown also oversees the school's relationship with Fort Bragg. E.E. Smith has a partnership with the 16th Military Police Brigade. He also makes arrangements for the school's well-known marching band and other groups to appear at community events. Brown now manages the database that he helped create 10 years ago. He uses the email list of about 800 parents to let them know what's going on at the school weekly. I try to keep them informed, he said. Brown also oversees a similar list of about 1,200 alumni. Brown has strong connections to E.E. Smith. He graduated from the school in 1971, and his father, W.T. Brown, taught at the school and served as its principal. Julian Brown said he was first on the E.E. Smith campus as a kindergartner when his father was teaching at the school. His father, who went on to serve as an associate superintendent of Cumberland County Schools, died in November of 2016. He begged me in his last days not to leave E.E. Smith, Brown said. The desire for service that drives his volunteer efforts came from his father, he said. I guess that's part of my spirit, he said. A summer leadership academy is named for Brown's father. Its motto is patterned after the question that his father asked himself every morning, how shall I be remembered? Brown serves as a mentor for students. He recalls one example of a young man in a gang who turned his life around and ended up earning a full scholarship to college. Every once in a while, you have a victory that overshadows any defeat, he said. Brown said he applies his business background to his volunteer work at the school. He never worked at a for-profit organization and spent much of his career helping small businesses and working in community development efforts. Brown said that if he wasn't working, he might be watching television all day, which he doesn't see as a healthy choice. I always felt like if I could make a difference, I would do that, he said. Brown said his work at E. Smith is what gets him going in the morning. Sometimes what you get out of a job is more than $1, he said. Pair charged with illegal gambling. A Fayetteville man and woman were charged with illegal gambling, and gaming machines and poker tables were seized Friday by the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office. Christopher Michael Williams, 45, of the 1500 block of Paisley Drive, was charged with illegal gambling. Marie Frances Keegan, 49, of the 1400 block of Whitburn Avenue, was charged with illegal operations of video poker machines. The Sheriff's Office said several search warrants were issued in the investigation. They centered on a warehouse in the 4000 block of Rayford Road, which housed poker tables used for gambling, and the 300 block of Lyndhurst Drive, which housed several gaming machines. The Sheriff's Office said in a news release. Search warrants were also served in Grays Creek, the Sheriff's Office said. Williams and Keegan were both released at the scene after being charged, the office said. 911. Man kills wife, son after breakup. A man killed his wife, who was also his daughter, and their 7-month-old son, and then took his own life after she broke up with him, according to a 911 call. Steve Plattle's mother called police in North Carolina to say she'd had a disturbing call from him and to ask officers to check on the well-being of her infant grandson. The mother told police Pat Plattle said he'd killed his baby in Knightdale, North Carolina, and his 20-year-old daughter and her adoptive father, who were shot in Connecticut. Plattle's mother said he was upset because his daughter had broken up with him. The slain infant had been born of the relationship between Stephen Pattle and his daughter, Katie Pattle. I can't even believe this is happening, says Stephen Pattle's mother, whose name was redacted from the recording of the 911 call released by the police in Cary, North Carolina. The woman asked police to check on her grandson, Bennett Pattle. She said Stephen Paddle had told her that he left a key under the front mat. He told me to call the police, that I shouldn't go over there, she said. Police found the baby dead, alone in the house. Authorities have not said how the baby was killed. We're trying to make sense of all the factors that led up to this senseless taking of life, Knightdale Police Chief Lawrence Capps said. The 911 call came shortly after witnesses in the rural western Connecticut reported hearing what sounded like semi-automatic gunfire Thursday morning. Inside a pickup truck with the window shot out, police found the bodies of Katie Paddle and her adoptive father, 56-year-old Anthony Fusco. No injuries in condominium fire. Firefighters from multiple departments responded to a condominium fire in Pinehurst on Friday night. Emergency units were dispatched just before 11:30 p.m. to the Linville Gardens condominiums at 800 St. Andrews Drive for a possible structure fire at Unit 218. The first arriving fire crews found a working structure fire on the second floor of a two-story condominium building. The responders knocked down most of the fire within 30 minutes of reaching the scene. Emergency units remained at the location an extended amount of time while officials worked to ensure the fire was fully extinguished. No injuries were reported. The condominiums had taken extensive damage from the smoke and flames. The cause of the fire was not known as of this report. Lumberton police investigating death. Officers with the Lumberton Police Department are investigating after a man was found lying in a roadway with a gunshot wound. A person flagged down officers at 1:52 a.m. Saturday morning to alert them to a person lying in Roberts Avenue near McPhail Road, according to a police news release. The officers drove to the location and found the man. Evidence at the scene led investigators to conclude that the man may have been shot, the release said. The man was taken to Southeastern Regional Medical Center where he died. The victim's name is being withheld pending notification of his family. An autopsy will be performed to determine the cause of death, the release said. Eric Hackney, an investigator with the Robeson County District Attorney's Office, is assisting police with their investigation. Anyone with information concerning the case is asked to call Detective Yvette Pitts or Detective Charles Keenum of the Lumberton Police Department at 910-671-3845. Local musician honored at concert. The Fayetteville Music Hall of Fame has two new members, the Reverend Buck Hodge, Minister of Music at Northwood Temple, and Bill Ireby, Concert Master Emeritus with the Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra, were inducted by Community Concerts of Fayetteville prior to the Commodores concert Saturday night at the Crown Theater. Hodge and Ireby became the 28th and 29th inductees in the Hall of Fame, which was established in 2008. It was designed to honor those who have brought musical distinction to the community, said Michael Fleshman, Community Concert Attractions Director. At Northwood Temple, Hodge is in charge of the church's Easter and Christmas programs. Fleshman said he writes and directs the church and the church's annual dinner theater. Hodge has been on church staff since 1971 and hosts a weekly Bible study in his home. He's been a music fixture for Northwood Temple and this community for years, Fleshman said. He is really well known in this community and has contributed a lot. Ireby is a classically trained violinist who also teaches music. He is well known for the concerts he performs around town, both with the symphony and at other venues. He does everything from classical to contemporary, Fleshman said. He plays at Patty's Irish Pub a lot. This is the 11th consecutive year local musicians, groups, and supporters of the arts have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Last year's inductees were Harlan Duno, the Cumberland Oratorio Singers, and Oratorio Singers founder Alan Porter. Community Concerts of Fayetteville was founded in 1935 and brings a wide range of acts to the crown. This season wraps up with a performance by Magic Troupe The Illusionist on May 10th. More information is available at community-concerts.com. Mayor to call for review of Williams. Mayor Mitch Colvin will renew his efforts to have the city hire a third party to investigate and battle City Councilman Tyrone Williams' actions at a special meeting Monday night. A legal process called a motion that can be used to remove elected officials in North Carolina also will be discussed Friday, Colvin said. We will be discussing a motion and I will renew my call for a thorough independent investigation of the issue, the first-year mayor said. At a meeting last week, members of the City Council asked for Williams to resign after hearing an audio tape of a secretly recorded meeting between Williams and Prince Charles Holding developer Jordan Jones. On the tape, Williams is heard asking Jones for $15,000 to clear up a minor legal issue with the title for the Prince Charles Hotel. The mayor and 8 council members, along with some members of the public speaking at the meeting, called for Williams to step down. Williams has refused to resign. Prince Charles Holding is a Durham-based investment group that is spending more than $65 million on private projects surrounding the minor league baseball stadium being built downtown. The group's projects in the 400 block of Hay Street include transforming the historic Prince Charles Hotel into apartment and building premium office space. Colvin said he called Monday's meeting so the city's legal department can brief the council on ways to remove Williams from office. City Attorney Karen McDonald has said the only way that appears to be possible is through a process called a motion. A rarely used process, a motion involves a formal notice to the official, a fact-finding process, and a quasi-judicial hearing. The process tends to take a couple of months. It has happened in Cumberland County. In 2013, Hope Mills used a motion to remove Tonzi Collins from that office. Colvin said he expects the City Council to decide whether it will start the process of a motion and the process of hiring a third party to review the incident after the meeting. There will be some clear direction given by the time we leave, Colvin said. The City Council also will discuss opioid litigation at the meeting, which begins at 5 p.m. at City Hall at 433 Hay Street. This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University. Our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number 1-844-709-5656. Your radio host is Wanda, and I am proud to serve you today. Deputy shot, suspect caught. A 16-year-old suspected of shooting a Harnett County deputy on Saturday was caught hours later after a massive manhunt, Sheriff Wayne Coates said. Mario Alexander Garcia III, no address available, was taken into custody shortly before 10 p.m. It was not clear what he would be charged with, Coates said. The deputy, identified as James Cook, was in stable condition late Saturday at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center in Fayetteville, Coates said. Cook was shot near H.M. Cagle Drive while conducting an investigation, said Major Jeff Huber, a spokesman for the sheriff's office. The shooting occurred on a dirt path in a wooded area near Spout Springs Church. He had responded to a call about a missing juvenile around 6:34 p.m. They got into a scuffle and he pulled a gun out and shot him, Coates said. Cook was shot in the face and chest at close range. The sheriff said the shooting happened a few hundred feet from Cook's patrol vehicle. The sheriff said he did not know where Garcia got the gun, believed to be a .45 caliber handgun. Coates talked to reporters at a news conference after visiting with Cook at the hospital. He said Cook was alert and talking with him. When Coates rounded the corner toward the deputy's room, Cook was able to say, "Sheriff, I'm okay." Cook has been with the sheriff's office for about 8 years. H.M. Cagle Drive is off North Carolina 87, about 7 miles north of Spring Lake. It is near a shopping center that includes a Food Lion grocery store. For a while, NC 87 was shut down. We didn't want him to be able to get back and possibly carjack somebody, Coates said. On Saturday night, patrol vehicles and emergency personnel from various agencies were in the area. Authorities were set up near Cagle Furniture and Spout Springs Church. Dogs and a helicopter from the State Highway Patrol were used in the search. The Highway Patrol and members of the sheriff's offices in Cumberland, Lee, and Wake counties and the Fayetteville Police Department were among the agencies that took part in the search. We weren't going to stop until we got him. Body found in Bladen Lake. The body of Jesse Grow, a Fayetteville man who has been missing since April 6, was found about 12:30 p.m. Saturday in Singletary Lake, a North Carolina state park, spokesman said. Park Superintendent Ed Wilkerson said Grove's body was found near the middle of the lake in an area where the water is 12 to 14 feet deep. He appears to have drowned, Wilkerson said, although a coroner is conducting an investigation. The family is grieving. It's a very sad time, Wilkerson said during a news conference on Singletary Lake Pier. Our division is very remorseful about the loss for the family and for his friends. Grove, 23, was at the lake for a retreat with other family members of River House Church. They arrived at the park April the 3rd. Singletary Lake State Park is in Kelly, an unincorporated area not far from White Lake. Stacy Young, the lead pastor of River House, said he saw Grove out on the lake by himself, about 40 or 50 yards from shore, shortly after sunset on April the 6th. That's the last time he was seen. Rescue workers found his canoe upright in the lake. A cell phone and life vest were inside the canoe. Katie Hall, a spokeswoman for the North Carolina State Parks, said it is likely Grove fell out of the canoe. Because of Grove's small frame, he would not have necessarily turned the canoe over when he fell, Hall said. An extensive search followed of the lake and the surrounding 36,000-acre Bladen Lakes State Forest. Last week, officials announced that the search had entered the recovery phase. They were looking for Grove's body. On Friday, a scaled-back search included firefighters from 2 area departments, patrol dogs, and state park officials. After the body was found Saturday afternoon, some of Grove's family and friends gathered at the lake to get information about the recovery of the body. Some people hugged each other and cried as they waited for information. Wilkerson said about 20 different agencies participated in the search, which included the use of sonar devices. Family and friends of Groves helped with the land search, Wilkerson said. He called the search effort almost Herculean. It was hundreds and hundreds of manpower hours, Wilkerson said. Wilkerson said a coroner's report was expected by Tuesday. I can't discuss what the coroner may find, but all indications are that this is a case of drowning, he said. Wilkerson said the water temperature when Grow went into the water was about 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The fact that it was dark when Grow fell from the canoe may have made him disoriented, Wilkerson said. If you find yourself in the water, it can become threatening very quickly, Wilkerson said. Hall said Grow had removed some of his clothing, so it appears he was struggling to swim. Wilkerson said he could not recall another drowning in recent years in Singletary Lake, but he couldn't say for sure whether there had ever been one. Likely a carcinogen in Fayetteville's water. Fayetteville's public drinking water does not contain Gen X, but another chemical that is just as troubling. A likely carcinogen known as 1,4-dioxane has been detected in greater concentrations in city water over the past year. Water from this city's Public Works Commission has contained 1,4-dioxane at levels exceeding a federal health advisory every year since the threshold was set in 2013. The PWC, like several other utilities in the state, gets most of its water from the Cape Fear region. The PWC recently released its annual water quality report for 2017, which concludes that recent tests confirm Gen X is not in PWC's drinking water, but 1,4-dioxane in drinking water is just as concerning as Gen X, said Kemp Burdett, a Cape Fear River keeper from Washington. I hate to kind of like pick which is worse when they are both pretty bad, Burdett said. I would say I'm equally concerned about both of them. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency ordered municipal water systems to start testing for 1,4-dioxane 5 years ago after recognizing its potentially harmful effects in humans. The same year, EPA established its health advisory for the industry's chemical of 0.35 parts per billion, meaning anything over that level, less than a single drop in a 10,000-gallon swimming pool, could be harmful. Research shows that long-term exposure could increase the risk of cancer in 1 out of 1 million people. Higher concentrations would pose higher risk. Monthly tests conducted by the PWC last year show the average level of 1,4-dioxane at 2.2 parts per billion in the city's drinking water. That's more than 6 times higher than the federal advisory of 0.35 billion. One PWC site tested in February 2017 found the chemical at 4.2 parts per billion, more than 12 times higher than the federal threshold. Industries for decades have used 1,4-dioxane as a solvent. It can also be found in paint strippers, varnishes, plastics, baby shampoos, cosmetics, and bath soaps and gels. When the EPA first ordered testing for the chemical in 2013, it was discovered in Glenville Lake, another source of PWC water, at levels as high as 8.8 parts per billion, 25 times higher than the EPA's advisory. In 2017, tests found an even higher concentration of 9.6 parts per billion at a PWC water source. But that's nowhere near as high as researchers have found in other areas of the Cape Fear River Basin. Tests for the State Department of Environmental Quality in 2014-15 had the highest level of 1,4-dioxane at 10,030 parts per billion in the Haw River near Reedsville, 25 miles north of Greensboro. The Haw flows into Jordan Lake and the Cape Fear River, from which Sanford, Harnett County, Fayetteville, and Wilmington get their drinking water. The second test in 2015-16 found that The levels of 1,4-dioxane throughout much of the basin had declined significantly, at least partly because researchers had begun to pinpoint the sources and ask industries to stop discharging it into rivers. Levels near Reedsville had dropped from 10,030 parts per billion to 46 parts per billion. The highest level detected in Fayetteville at intake at the Hoffer water treatment plant measured 11 parts per billion in the first study and less than 3 parts per billion in the subsequent study. The levels had continued to drop in Fayetteville until 2017, when the average of monthly tests for 1,4-dioxane jumped to 2.2 parts per billion from 1.4 parts per billion the year before. Like the possible human carcinogen Gen X, which has been found in private wells and public water supplies downstream of Fayetteville, 1,4-dioxane is not federally regulated. Industries don't have to stop discharging it, and the EPA's health advisory is not legally enforceable. PwC spokeswoman Carol Justice Henson said researchers speculate that the levels have increased because of the reduced river flow and moderate drought conditions. The PwC and other cities helped fund research to identify the possible sources of 1,4-dioxane, Justice Henson said in an email. It is a better solution to prevent it from getting in the water source than trying to remove it, because it would require a complete change of our treatment process, which would take longer to do and be more cost prohibitive, she said. Justice Henson said several sources of 1,4-dioxane were identified in the Greensboro area. She did not name them and referred questions to the State Department of Environmental Quality. This state is monitoring the wastewater discharges at those locations, and they could speak more to how that is being handled, she said. The DEQ did not respond to requests for comment last week. Burdette, the Cape Fear River keeper, said the point sources of 1,4-dioxane are hard to identify because industries have been contracting with municipal water systems to treat their wastewater. The municipal systems aren't designed for industrial contaminants and can't filter them out of waste streams, he said. In addition, Burdette said the sludge that remains from the treated wastewater continues to contain 1,4-dioxane and other chemicals. It is applied to land and runs off in the stream, she said. Researchers believe industries in the triad are largely responsible for the 1,4-dioxane in Fayetteville's drinking water. Justice Henson said PwC is always concerned about drinking water safety and has stayed vigilant and stays in contact with the state and those working to resolve the issue. But Dr. David Andrews, the lead scientist for the Environmental Working Group in Washington, takes exception to how the PwC characterizes the significance of 1,4-dioxane in the city's drinking water. Kidney and liver disease also have been associated with the chemical. In water quality reports from 2017 and earlier, the PwC notes that 1,4-dioxane is an unregulated emerging contaminant and that the EPA has not established drinking water standards for it. If the EPA believed 1,4-dioxane was an immediate threat, a directive would have been issued, the PwC said in the 2017 report. Andrews said, "I completely disagree with that statement. The EPA lacks the ability to effectively set drinking water regulations that adequately protect human health, and it is telling that the agency has not set standards for any new contaminants in more than 2 decades, he said. North Carolina has set the same health goal as the EPA's advisory for 1,4-dioxane in drinking water, 0.35 parts per billion. The state's health goal for waterways that aren't sources of drinking water is 80 parts per billion. The Environmental Working Group conducted its own study of 1,4-dioxane in public drinking water throughout the country. The report released in September singled out Fayetteville. The report used in PwC's water test from 2013. Ranking the most contaminated water system, hotspots include the Cape Fear River Basin in North Carolina, affecting Fayetteville and surrounding communities, the report says. The studies show that more than 7 million people in 27 states are drinking water above the EPA threshold for 1,4-dioxane. The study ranked North Carolina as having the second highest number of people exposed to potentially harmful levels of the chemical behind California. The report also shows that the average monthly water test for Fayetteville in 2013 found 1,4-dioxane at 3.8 parts per billion, higher than all the other public water systems studied except two in Los Angeles and the city of Sanford, about 35 miles north of Fayetteville. Tests for Sanford, which also gets its drinking water from the Cape Fear River, measured 1,4-dioxane at 5.8 parts per billion, according to the study. A utility service at Fort Bragg and the city of Dunn were also listed as having high levels of the chemical. The Environmental Working Group urges the EPA to adopt more rigid standards for 1,4-dioxane. The widespread contamination of drinking water with 1,4-dioxane makes it imperative for the EPA to go beyond the non-enforceable increased cancer risk guidelines by setting an enforceable standard known as a maximum contaminant level, or MCL, the study concludes. The EPA should take action to minimize 1,4-dioxane releases into the waterways. The 1,4-dioxane found in Fayetteville's drinking water is just one of perhaps thousands of so-called emerging contaminants that are not regulated by the EPA. Gen X, which DuPont and Chemours has produced for decades at its plants near Fayetteville, is among those contaminants. Gen X is known to cause cancer in animals, but human health effects are not yet known. The Chemours plant near the Cumberland-Bladen County line is downstream of the PWC's water intake on the Cape Fear River. Like Gen X, 1,4-dioxane is difficult to screen from drinking water. Justice Henson said researchers have found that filtration systems can rid 1,4-dioxane from drinking water, but they could actually do more harm than good if they are not properly maintained or if they malfunction. In 2016, the EPA selected 1,4-dioxane as one of the first 10 chemicals it would review under a new chemical safety law passed earlier that year. Thousands gather united in prayer. Thousands strong, people of different ethnicities, ages, and faiths walked side by side Saturday morning, stopping to pray together at various locations in downtown Fayetteville. That's the way it should be, said Reverend Rob James. This is a snapshot of what the kingdom of heaven should be. About 6,000 people gathered at Festival Park for the 5th annual As One prayer walk. In addition to the walk to different buildings around downtown for prayer stops, the day featured entertainment, praise, and worship at Festival Park. It was a warm, humid morning, but that didn't stifle the uplifting energy. The James family, Rob, wife Leona, and daughters Sophia and Cecilia, walked together for the first time. The family moved to Fayetteville about a year ago, where James is the pastor of the First Baptist Church. James said he had heard about the walk last year and knew he wanted to be a part of it this year. Prayer is something to be celebrated, he said. We can stand together in prayer. The morning kicked off with worship music at the stage in Festival Park. Jeremy Wright leads the annual event. He introduced several elected officials, including members of the Fayetteville City Council, Police Chief Gina Hawkins, and Register of Deeds Lee Warren, who took turns hyping up the crowd. Nothing is better than seeing the people of God come together, said Councilman Jim Art, as the crowd cheered. DJ Hare, another councilman, waved out to the crowd. A lot of things are going on today, but there is nothing greater than faith is. The power of prayer is something Ramona Ellis has felt all her life. She's a cancer survivor who felt God's hands heal her, she said. It's the third time she's attended the prayer walk. She walked with a friend from her church, Bethel Christian Assembly in the Massey Hill neighborhood. I have been a sickly person, she said. I've had cancer. I've had chronic back pain from an injury in 1998. Through prayer, God takes me through every day. Preventing gun violence is personal for her. Roxy Dewitt Dawson was working on a manuscript for a book when she received the call from her adult nephew. It was a mild summer day in July of 2013. Her nephew was choked up. He asked Dawson if she could pick up his 4-month-old daughter, Sarah, who lived more than an hour away in Whiteville. Social services had interviewed in the chaotic life of the nephew and his girlfriend. The daughter would be headed to foster care that evening, he said. Dawson was 51 at the time, but no other family was immediately available to take in the child, she says. I said, of course, she says. She called her husband, Eric, who was retired from the Army. He told me, go get the baby. The Dawsons figured they would take care of Sarah for a little while until her parents could pull their lives together. We were thinking 30 days, Dawson says with a smile, still seemingly filled with the wonder of it all. Sarah is now 5 and still lives with Roxy and Eric in West Fayetteville. They adopted her. They would not have it any other way. 30 days, she says, has turned into a lifetime. Dawson is a person of faith, and she sees God's hand in events that led her to raise this child. She is a motivational speaker, certified grief counselor, and author of Silenced by Arms, Children Are Dying, a book that incorporates stories from her life as it seeks to educate young people and parents on firearm safety. The subject could not be more personal for her. In 1987, she and Eric lost their 4-year-old son, Aaron Zachary Dawson, in an accident involving his grandfather's gun, and a cousin who is the same person who would call Roxy Dawson from Whiteville 26 years later. Aaron had found the family gun in a closet while staying with Dawson's parents at their home in Tabor City. His 6-year-old cousin, who Dawson refers to as Rob in the book, tried to take the gun from Aaron to protect him. It discharged. At the time, Dawson was a beauty consultant at what was then the Main Post Exchange. She had an 8-month-old son and a husband who had not yet left Germany, where the family had been stationed. My parents had called and checked on me around the clock and informed me that my sisters would be there to bring me to their home, Dawson writes in Silenced by Arms. The home that had shielded me from storms, hurricanes, and other tumultuous situations, but the home in which my son died. She had the support of her extended family, but she wrote about feeling inadequate as a mother in that moment, unable to protect one son and in no shape to take care of the baby. She writes, I didn't even think about sleep, although at one point I felt I was only sleepwalking. Working on the book helped her deal with the loss. It also helped her channel her new passion to make sure what happened to Aaron would not happen to another child. My book is bigger than my son finding a firearm, she says. She first published Silenced by Arms in 2001 and the same year founded a nonprofit, BPOS, which stands for Bulletproof Our Schools. The program was in part her response to Columbine and other school shootings. She spoke at recreational centers and summer camps with information on how firearms at the home should be stored and how parents should talk to their children about guns. She also wove in messages about bullying and conflict resolution. Dawson's efforts received her praise in letters from elected officials ranging from NC Rep Marvin Lucas to former U.S. Rep. Mike McIntyre, who sent along information about the program to several others, including then-President George W. Bush. The National Rifle Association applauded Dawson's efforts